Greetings! We are the third group. Today we share with you stories. Stories of loss and stories of hope. Stories of nature, people, and stories we hope you'll learn from. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tales from the River. The topics covered are the following. First, the benefits we get from our rivers. Second, the perils of the rivers. And third, the Cagayan de Oro River Basin. There is no doubt that rivers are beautiful, but at the same time, it can bring terror. But more than anything, we are here to remind you that rivers play an important role in our lives. We are dependent to our rivers and have the responsibility and accountability to take care of them. In the beautiful words of Saint Francis, we are all interconnected. Exploiting God's creation for short-term profit doesn't just hurt the trees or the rivers, but it also hurts human life, particularly the poor and the vulnerable. How do healthy rivers benefit society? Rivers are essential to human well-being. In the study conducted by Helen Parker and Naomi Waits in 2016, they presented these key findings. Rivers have the potential to provide a wide range of benefits but are often exploited, which lead to the detriment of river health and human needs. We're going to summarize the benefits we get from our rivers, and these benefits are threefold. These are societal, economic, and strategic. Let's look at the societal benefits closely. Many social benefits derived from rivers are dependent on good all-around river health, including cultural and aesthetic values, or secure livelihoods such as those based on inland fisheries or flood-resistant agriculture. Economic benefits such as those derived from commercial agriculture or hydropower tend to rely on just a few aspects of river health and require built infrastructure, entailing significant trade-offs with other benefits. Strategic benefits are indirectly related to river health, and the causal relationships are more difficult to prove. For example, energy security through hydropower requires flows, but not high water quality. Let's walk down memory lane. The deadly tropical storm Washi, or locally known as Sandong, made landfall on the 16th of December 2011. The recorded 24-hour rainfall in Lumbia Station of Pag-asa reached 180.9 millimeters, causing the overflow of the Cagayan de Oro River. According to a study conducted in 2012, this disastrous event, which claimed 1,268 human lives and 1.5 billion pesos worth of damages to infrastructure and agriculture, was analyzed in terms of meteorological, hydrological, environmental, and social aspects. Cagayan de Oro Mayor Oscar Moreno, in his welcome speech during the Environmental Summit earlier this year, said, "Kami rin, in our small ways, inspired by the Cagayan de Oro River Basin Management Council, we learned many lessons from Sandong." The Department of Environment and Natural Resources has designated a water quality management area, which is the Cagayan de Oro River Basin in northern Mindanao, which includes an area best known for the popular sport whitewater rafting. Its mission is to oversee and catalyze multi-stakeholders for the protection, preservation, rehabilitation, and management of the CDO River Basin, based on the website of Xavier University, which serves as a secretariat for the Council that seeks to improve the quality of life of these stakeholders by upholding and implementing appropriate interventions to enhance better utilization of natural resources and to boost biodiversity along the watersheds and the rivers. It also encourages all other stakeholders to become part of the formulation of management plans and strategies for the river basin. Its vision is a rehabilitated, sustainably protected, preserved, and well-managed CDO river basin in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it is important for us to realize that if we do not deal with environmental issues right now, the consequences could be devastating not only to ourselves, but to future generations. It is important that we participate in this national effort and learn from the mistakes of the past, or else in the future, we will pay the consequences twice.
J. Pedroza. I am residing at 161 Magsaysay Street, Barangay 18, Cagayan de Oro City. And I am 26 years old.
Wow.
It was already announced that there was a tropical storm, Typhoon Sendong.
Okay.
And then it was a Christmas season.
Yeah.
So nobody expect that Sendong would come. So that night, that very night, the water level is high, and then it reached in our home, and we immediately went out to our house and find a safe place for us. And thankfully, people here in Cagayan de Oro didn't expect Sendong that time. As we all know.
Yeah.
But I guess there was a heavy rain, strong winds, and since the Cagayan de Oro was not hit any floods in the past years prior to Sendong, so people never expect it to happen. But it was also reported that there was a collapse of dams due to heavy or the big volume of rain. Future disasters and calamities, it should be noted that we and our government agency like the ENR or other groups that or individuals to take part of the role to strictly push through and implement projects, rehabilitation to conserve and preserve our environment, since the environment is involved in these kinds of calamities and disasters. So we should take a full implementation to protect our environment, our natural resources and environment, since calamities and disasters also involves in our environment, not just us but also the environment. To appreciate life, life is precious. I learned to realize the importance of taking care of our environment. In taking part of the environment, we should plant more trees, not to cut trees, to prevent floods, and help our environment clean and safe. Abusing our environment also affects us, so that's the most important lesson I've learned so far in Sendong.
Okay. Thank you.
Basin is essentially describing that a particular river, because of the connectivity that I was talking about, will help us trace where are the bounds of this connectivity. First is when we talk about geologic terms, well, basically rivers, particularly this Cagayan de Oro River, according to records, has been there and has been formed, deformed, and reformed, because it is living river. So I think it's been there for more than 1,000 years already. When we say the river floods, or flooding, basically that's a natural part. That's a natural dynamics of a river system. We only say people got flooded because people are now settled, on which used to be floodplain. And we have geologic evidence that the river water can actually flow up to this width, for example, up to this extent. But on dry season, maybe, people thought that, okay, it's just no one is living there anyway, so they claim the land, for example, and then that's where the problem starts. But this is the advantage, of having rivers. There are a lot of perspective, I'm sure the biologists, na mga people will say that this is part of an ecosystem. and a lot of indication, parameters, or health of a river basin can be determined if we do samples on the river. Naman na sila yung mga mga tan-awon nga mga algae, for example, mga ingon-ana, and then they will say that, oh, this river is still good, this river is ana. And then it will also carry nutrients from the ridge up to the reef, no, which our seagrass, our mangroves will also need, no. Kay dili masad pwede nga kanang walay sediment. Sediment is also part of the process. Kay in a nutshell, if pasagdan lang gid si nature, mabuhi ra gid ni siya, bahalag mag-earthquake, mag-ulan, magbagyo, iya ra gid ning natural niya, no, ana. So it should be okay. But of course, the disadvantage, other than ang advantage pa gyud is like we can actually make power out through it, no, manatay mga micro hydro power plant, which is also good, no, as long as it is built well and the ecology is not kanang depleted, no, na magi ma-disturb man gyud, we cannot deny that. So kana siya. Other that na ay ecotourism, so sada gyud kay daghan gyud advantage sa atong river system. There is clearly an advantage, no, and for one, as a researcher, I've kanang rafted through CDO River several times up to the cathedral part, no, to do sampling, so we can really know, no, for example, the siltation. You know, some people are doing business out of the silts or the sand, basically, that's deposited near the mouth, diba? So lagi advantage, no, na basta unta kana gahulatan lang nato nga kung mapuno na ang silt, tabangan nato si river, we will use it for business, for quarrying, ingon ana, dredging. So that's good, no, kay natural gasa man na, so we will use it. For example, as I've said, tourism has also used it, and it's nice to see rivers because, as I've said, no, for me, every time I see a river, it is an indication for me, mura ba kung doktor, kanang unsa iyang blood test karon, kanang nakuha na ba iyang CBC, no, kanang ingon ana, I can immediately, at least for me, because I work with rivers, magnaday ko indication nga, oh, something is not wrong. When we say brown rivers, for example, it doesn't always say na bad is happening, no, meaning lang yun nga kung mag-ulan na siya mo brown, healthy gyud ang atong ecosystem, kay bisan unsa mag-siltation magyud kung mag-ulan, no, nga. Pero kung magsige na siya brown bisag walay ulan, dalay na nagstorya, no. So that's why for me it's an advantage, no, for us to it's a gift ba, no, of nature, saying that, oh, this is now what's happening. Fairness, no, at least for CDO, the level of preparedness is really good. I would say that, no, I've seen it evolve during the time before Sendong, and now I've worked closely with the city. Kung preparedness lang, grabe gyud ka prepare 3 days, 5 days, alingasa na kay sa Facebook, no, kanana gyud mga ingon ana. So syaro na gyud nga di lugar maka-evacuate, no, nga grabe bisan napagay sila mga forced evacuation. So kung Sendong lang na river flooding, grabe gyud ka prepared kung river flooding. What we did was to map out where the flood prone areas, and we've seen that this is similar or even more to a flood map that was already produced back in 2000 or 1999 ba to, or 2000 man siguro. So DNR actually already produced a flood map of the Cagayan de Oro River, which we tried to simulate 1 month before Sendong, nya motong sa Sendong dayon. So as to the behavior lagi of the river, the scientists already know that where these flood prone or floodplain are. So mo na gid siya ang bahaunon nga area, no, naan na gyud. And we've seen that it's really people that has encroached to the river. Dili gyud si river nag-encroach sa communities. Mo gid na ang tinuod nga storya. And then number 2, we've also seen in that study that there are a lot in the river basin, or there are just small portions na lang of the river basin that's really forest. And we tried to simulate that mga 3 years, 4 years later, man sure after the flood na. And there were also other studies for example by UP Dream nga project or program, medyo upaw na ba, and that's why water will be easy to flow ra gyud, no? Mura ra man gyud na siya kung upaw kay imong yabuhan mo slide, no? Pero kung nakay buhok mo sangit gyud ang tubig. So mao na nga kanang paspas gyud kayo ang tubig, no? Ingon ana. So mao na mo mga at least mga findings.
May I know if there's something else aside from that parang
Sure.
for river, sir, that you're parang thinking?
If it were me, no, kung ako lugar
Yeah.
presidente. I don't know. Because first, we have to realize that this cannot be done by the city alone. The river basin concept, hindi man siya concept, no, it's really a reality, no. We are also learning, or we also learned that taking care and reducing risk from river flooding or river-related risk is a joint, should be a joint initiative or program of several local government units within the river basin. For example, in the case of Cagayan de Oro, kung maingon gyud ta sa Cagayan de Oro, gamay ra gyud kayo ang part sa Cagayan de Oro River Basin nga naa sa Cagayan de Oro City. Large part of it is actually in Bukidnon, no, Talakag nga mga area ingon ana. So therefore, if we want to take care of this river, as I've said, for example, in terms of forest, ingon ana, this should be done upstream, no? So dili man to jurisdiction ni Cagayan de Oro. So they should work together. Kaya of course, nanginabuhi man sad ang mga tao dito sa upstream nga mga LGU. So that's why there is a program now called Payment for Ecosystem Services. If you try to search for that, so basically this is saying, and this is actually effective now in water district. Kini atong Kaudi, kini sa kung sa water district, kaning Cagayan de Oro Water District, kung diya mo nagpataod sa inyong tubig, ang style ani karon is Cagayan de Oro Water District, gabayad na siya sa LGU Cagayan man siguro, para kini si LGU Cagayan nag-pool dayon og fund para mo rehabilitate sa atong river basin. Yung ano, kay other than the river, naamang as I've seen ang katong unseen nga manifestation of connectivity is the groundwater. Kunya, ang atong source biya sa Cagayan de Oro Water is atong groundwater. My dear lawyers, no, ang ako gyud message is, since you are you know the law best, no, than any one of us in society. My wish is that you will use your expertise ba, no, in law to inspire people to do good. Of course, there is litigation and there are many things lawyer can really do. Pwede gid mapapriso sa mga kung di mo sunod sa balaod, no, sa mga water code, for example. And of course, that can be done. But for me, there must be a way of placing law so that it motivates people to do good instead of just prohibiting them to do bad. Murag ingana bitaw, I do not know how, no? But for me, in this very broken society, well, I will say, no, I will kuan nga nagi brokenness sa society. We need to inspire more people than add more breakdown to the system, no? Kanang I don't know, maybe like what Attorney Jarly is doing, no? I've worked with her, by the way, in some project in Morcilagos Bay, for example, and in the Agusan River Basin. So that's why I know her. And I've learned that, for me ba, I was listening to her nga, naray mo ingana nga balaod, no? And then he was saying, oh, since balaod ni siya, then let's make a people's organization. Let's make an IRR. Kanang to inspire ba people that they should be part of this, no? Kanang apil taani kay sus balaod naman gyud ni himo ni nato ingana dili tong kitsa may mga wala naghimo diri be kay atong pangkasuhan pwede man gyud na, no? sa law pod, pero ako gyud kanang I would wish that we can make law an inspiration, no, to do good for all walks of life for people.